I think one of the things that you have to realize is that, your job and your business both make demands on your time. And so it's really important to give each of them their full attention that they need, but be able to schedule, exactly how your day is going to go. And also, schedule time with your family. I
Yeah.
don't ignore my family because I'm doing these things. In fact, I love working at home because I can do all these things and I can switch in between them fairly quickly too. So one of the things that you need to do is be really disciplined about your time. The other thing too is look for ways that your current place, wherever you happen to be, can help you get to the next place.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. I am your host, Yona Weiss, and with me today, we have Daniel Holmlund. I am so glad to finally have you on the show, Daniel. What is going on?
Hey, Yona. It's really a pleasure to be here on your show. And what's going on? Life is going on. Real estate, work, sleep, repeat.
That basically sums it all up right there. Let's give our guests a little bit of context. Daniel is a full-time professional at Intel. You may have heard of that company, pretty big tech company. And meanwhile, while doing that, he actually started his own commercial real estate investing company. We're going to talk a little bit about that. It's called Samaritan Capital. He's the host of a great podcast called REI for Professionals. So real estate investing for professionals. It's a really awesome podcast. I definitely urge you to check that out, especially if you are a professional like Daniel, who is a busy professional and he's making time to invest in real estate. Not only that, what I'm most fascinated about, believe it or not, is he actually started a investing education club at his office at Intel. So that's pretty awesome. And he's done it successfully. They have like weekly meetups and, have guest speakers. And really, it's just an educational place for people who are in the corporation to learn about real estate. So Daniel, without further ado, I want to jump into that first. Because like I said, that's for me the most fascinating part. Obviously, you are a diverse, person. You got a lot going on in your life. But I'm very curious about this. How did you get the idea? I mean, you're busy. You've been working at Intel for around 10 years or so. And a couple of years back, you decided, let's start this club. Like, are there other clubs that exist at Intel, or was this like?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, there are a lot of different clubs that exist at Intel. You can be part of Toastmasters. You can join the choir club. There's of course, the chess club, but there's quite a few. And for me, the real question was, I wanted to get into commercial real estate and multifamily real estate. And one of the things that I realized is that I have to be able to add value to other people in order to be part of a team. And so I thought about that for a little while. And honestly, for a while, I started a multifamily meetup here in Portland where I live. And we met at the public library, and we had maybe 20-ish people at the tops coming to that. And there were 3 other competing clubs going on at the same time. One on the east side. I was kind of on the west side, and there was one up north in the downtown of Portland. And the other 2 actually did a strategic merge. And at that point, I just went, oh, everybody go over there. But so I tried a couple of things before I came to this, and this really took off. And what I've realized is that I was successful, it is being successful because it's a niche. Mm-hmm. And so what happened there literally was I knew a lot of people in Intel, were interested in putting their money in stocks. Right. A lot of people were interested in startups. There was actually a stock investment club already. And a startup investment club. And I looked through the clubs that were listed, and I went, there's no real estate club.
There you go.
And so I went to Intel HR and said, hey, you've got a stock investment club. You've got a startup investment club. I want to run the real estate investment club. How can I do that? Mm-hmm. And so one of the first things I did, and one of the first things I suggest to other people that are looking to start clubs at their place of work, is know the rules at your corporation and get the help of the people that know your rules. If you can come to them and say, hey, how can I do this? How can you help me do this? then they're going to be very inclined to help you succeed.
Right. So let me just back up for a second there. I'm just fascinated by the fact that there are clubs at a corporate. Like, how does that even happen? Like, is this on off hours, lunch hours, over after time, after hours? Like, when does this actually exist?
Yeah, the clubs, meet at all different times. For the real estate investment club at Intel, we meet every Friday at noon Pacific time, from noon to 1. So it's kind of a lunch hour thing. People get
Gotcha.
their lunch, and it's always been over a Zoom or a WebEx type, online form. In fact, almost all meetings at Intel are online, just because it's such a big corporation and people work in different places. And so it was a natural fit. So to be honest, it was hard starting it. One of the first rules they told me is that you're not allowed to advertise. You may not put up anything, in terms of, you can't send email blasts to people. Of course, you don't want to spam people.
Right.
You can't put anything on the public calendar. So it all has to be word of mouth, and you
Wow.
have to be able to get people to. So I had this challenge of, well, how do I get the word out? And honestly, the first 4 months were difficult and they were hard. They were really hard. And I feel for some of the speakers I brought in. Jerome Myers was one of my first speakers that I brought in. I felt so bad when I brought him in, because that was probably 1 month into starting the club. I was expecting maybe 15 people to show up. 5 showed up.
Okay.
And then we had technical difficulties for the first 25 minutes.
Wow.
And we had low attendance for a good 4 months or so. And my thinking is that if I run, if I get good speakers, try to boost my numbers so I can attract good speakers, and then do it consistently every Friday,
Right.
that the word will spread.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that wasn't enough.
Okay.
And that's when I started learning about strategic partnerships within companies. If you can go to your employee resource organizations, if you can go to, your Toastmasters club, your startup founding club, if you can go to the Young Professionals Network, all these different networks that already exist, and you go to them and you say, hey, I want to partner with you and do an event. Can you put me on your calendar? I'll put you on mine. And just start networking like
Right.
that.
That's awesome.
Get
That's
yourself
such a great idea.
onto other people's calendars through partnering,
Yeah.
which is how everything is done in real estate.
Everything,
Partnering.
and it's so amazing, because that really kind of resonates through a lot of things. I mean, obviously this is not just limited to your club within your corporation that you're trying to start. If you're trying to start a local, right, real estate investment club, it may be more difficult if it's local and in person. But if it's a podcast, or if it's now we're doing a lot of these real estate investment groups online, right? We have our real estate connections group. We meet every Wednesday. Same thing, right? If we have someone else from their group, we'll tell them about their thing on their date. They'll tell their group about mine, etc. It's a great way to partner. So it's been successful. What would you say is the number one, kind of success that you have come out of this, out of this investment group?
Number one most successful thing.
I mean,
well,
is it something like the people that are showing up and are your regulars? Have they started investing?
It's really gratifying. I get a lot of emails and a lot of comments just with, hey, Daniel, your club has been great. I've gone out and bought my first investment home.
There you go.
And so our club is not about multifamily. It's about any real estate topic. So we have turnkey investors, we have mortgage note investors, mobile home park investors, any topic. And I've got a lot of people just saying, hey, I have learned so much. And it's truly gratifying to get emails like that. And I maintain open office hours. So if anybody wants to put, 15 minutes on my calendar, we can meet and talk. And if we need longer, we can set up another appointment and go longer. But I just let people call in and they can talk about any real estate topic they want to. They can ask my advice. They can throw a question at me. They can do whatever they want. And just being able to help people has been very gratifying. And only a fraction of the people have actually done that.
Sure.
Most of them are just there to listen to the speakers.
Sure. And it's, it's educational. I'd say that's common throughout everything. People are going to take a long time to learn and listen to podcasts or groups or educational resources until they actually decide to jump in and do something for themselves. So, It's not unique to that. So you've, done this while being full-time working at Intel and simultaneously started your own investment company investing in multifamily real estate. How do you balance that? I mean, you talked at the beginning, like sleep, eat, real estate, right? Work, repeat. But the work and the investment, it's not something, a lot of times you hear people like running away from their W-2, how do I retire so I can go full time? But it sounds like you've been able to incorporate that within what you're doing. So how
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
able to balance
The
that?
work, eat, sleep is kind of a French phrase, metro boulot dodo,
Right.
and it means exactly that: work, commute, sleep. And I think one of the things that you have to realize is that your job and your business both make demands on your time. And so it's really important to give each of them their full attention that they need, but be able to schedule, exactly how your day is going to go. And also, schedule time with your family. I
Right.
don't ignore my family because I'm doing these things. In fact, I love working at home because I can do all these things and I can switch in between them fairly quickly too. So, one of the things that you need to do is be really disciplined about your time. The other thing too is look for ways that your current place, wherever you happen to be, can help you get to the next place. So, for instance, in starting a real estate company and starting a podcast, the Real Estate Investing for Professionals podcast, REI for professionals.com. The thing that helps me there is that whenever I am, so if I'm at work, I try to engage with people at work about real estate. So I started a club.
Hmm.
In my club there, I can get great speakers to come in. And so I ask them to be on my podcast.
Hmm.
And each time I can leverage wherever I am, whatever niche that you happen to have carved out, if you can leverage that to get to the next point,
Hmm.
starting over all the time gets really tedious and hard. And so be strategic about your planning.
Interesting. And I'm assuming here, it's more than an assumption because I actually
Mm.
know, but you're not doing it on your own, the real estate investing, right? You're
Oh gosh, no.
partnering up with others. And
Yeah.
that obviously makes it much easier. I mean, people to think that you can just be a full-time employee, a full-time, job and simultaneously, take down huge multifamily properties is a bit of a pipe dream, to do it on your own.
Well, to be honest, it's a bit of a pipe dream to think you could take down a multifamily property on your own, even if it is your full-time job.
Right. That's a good point.
So here's a great example of that. In my business at Good Samaritan Capital, I don't do any broker relations, at least currently. I might do that in the future. But broker relations are very time consuming and you have to build a relation. You have to get to know the person. You're calling them during business hours. And so I try to take activities that would happen normally during my day and move them to either before I start working at Intel or after I start working at Intel. So a lot of the things that I do might be, working with investors who I can email after hours,
Mhm.
or potentially working with, lawyers, tax accountants, those sorts of things where I can send emails after hours or before hours. And so I try to partner in the jobs that I know are time flexible. That
Mhm.
way, if Intel schedules a meeting in the middle of my day, I don't have to immediately cancel the other things that I'm doing with other professionals.
Right.
So I work with people who are boots on the ground.
Gotcha.
My particular business, we look for deals that are in the Southeast and in the Midwest. We target value add properties, and we target operators who are boots on the ground there. So they are physically there. And then we can join them through, scheduled activities that are
Right.
after business hours or otherwise.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's obviously an important point. To figure out a way that you can add value that is more flexible. And
Mhm.
and obviously there are so many important factors that go into closing a deal, go into running a company. You can add value in the way that you're able to. And I think that's incredible to be able to find that in the first place, but also to be able to act on it.
And it really underscores that real estate's a team sport. Yeah, you have to go out there and find
Right.
great people to work with, and you have to be the best version of you for them.
Awesome. So tell me about Good Samaritan Capital. What's the name? Obviously, it has something to do with giving
Right.
back
So
or something like
so
that.
until recently, my business was called Aalon Capital, and honestly, just to go back on that, names are really important. I chose Aalon Capital because Aalon is an oak tree, and I'm sure you know that. It's very similar to the Hebrew word for oak tree, but it's also similar to the French word for let's go together. So allons-y in French means let's go together,
Mm,
and it's also at the top of any alphabetical list.
right.
so so that's why I chose the name Alon. But to be honest, it really didn't have that, immediate recognition. People are constantly asking me, how do you pronounce it, or what
Right.
does this mean, or is it how to, it was a forgettable name, unfortunately. And so this holiday break, I took a lot of time just to do some soul searching about how I wanted to interact with my core values
Hmm.
and my business, and really what my why was. And people say that all the time, what's your why? Most investors that I talk to, their why is honestly just to be financially free and to be able to spend time with their family, and that's a great goal. But I was thinking that, I could there are other ways I can do it other than starting a real estate company. So
Hmm.
what is my why? And I decided that my why, and maybe to go back a little bit, when I was 11 years old, my 8-year-old brother was diagnosed with brain cancer,
Mm.
and he was given 6 months to live. And by the grace of God, he went through 9 brain surgeries and 3 years of chemotherapy and radiation, and he survived.
Wow.
Um, he survived. He's now 30. He just turned 40,
Wow.
which is a miracle.
Really?
But as you can imagine, as 11-year-old, being sent to a friend's house to live with friends because your parents were living at San Francisco Medical with your brother, walking into an ICU and seeing tubes hooked up to his head, it left a very, very strong impression. In fact, honestly, I until my mid 30s, I wasn't able to talk about it without crying. And so my why is to help. I want to have each investor that comes to our group partner with us and help fund a family who's going through, a child with cancer,
Wow.
or going through that difficulty. And so we're actually taking each investor, and we're going to give them 3 different options, at least 3 that I've identified so far. This is our current working model.
Okay.
But one of them is to partner with a family who is going through cancer, and just, each investment some of that will go to them. And then it'll come from us. Your full investment will go into the property. And then the other one that we've been supporting is the Remember New Foundation, who works with preventing child sex trafficking in Southeastern Asia. And so those 2 areas are areas that I'm really passionate about. And I realized that as long as my name did not reflect where I want the business to help, that it wasn't really my core value.
Mm.
And so I changed the name of the company to Good Samaritan Capital, because I think that in any business transaction, multifamily, the tenants need to win, the investors need to win, the business needs to win, and there needs to be give back to the community,
Yeah.
and it needs to be a real thing. And so that's why I changed the name of it. And like I said, we actually just changed our name today. The letter's probably in the mail still.
Amazing. That's awesome. I'm really, moved by that. It's an incredible story, and it really goes to show, the real why. A lot of people, like you said, are kind of superficial with their why. And, not to take that away from them. I mean, that you're being financially free and having, a little money to
Noble goal.
invest, and that's a great goal. That's something that is very important. All of us should want that for our families. But having something that really resonates and goes to your core, it really talks about who you are as a person. That's difficult to, imbue in a company, right? That's
Yeah.
that must have been a very big challenge. But I love how you've kind of coupled the charitable acts along with the investment, and it's really more than just you're doing, because what you're doing is you're kind of teaching the investors. Maybe they don't have that type of outlook necessarily. Maybe they'd be
It was
happy
hard to
to,
find.
yeah, maybe they'd be happy to invest with someone else who, just they don't really care about it. They just want the best return on their investment. But it sounds like you're finding the right people who actually care about those things as well. and it's really bringing that out of them.
I would say for the first year of doing this, I was really asking myself, what is my why? And being able to retire and have a good income in my retirement with my family and spend more time with my family, that is definitely part of my why. And to help other people do that
Right.
is actually part of my why too. But really being able to couple it to something that is beneficial to the groups in need, it took a long time for me to come to that. And I hope more people come to that.
Yeah. I mean, I hope businesses in general, but it's to
Yeah.
kind of do that.
That'll bring me to my book recommendation.
Okay. Oh, there you go. We'll get to that in a second. But the businesses in general should really have that sort of practice. I'm fortunate enough that the people that I surround myself with are kind of all these like-minded people. And, so the company I work for, Madison, the owners of the company are extremely charitable. I mean, above and beyond what anyone would even expect, the philanthropy that goes on with their business. And so I have that as kind of a role model in my life, of these people who are very extremely successful in business and real estate and are, spending a lot of money, that they're making, giving back, whether, that's within the company, obviously, but without, I mean, literally it would be, not an exaggeration to say like helping thousands of families. It's just incredible.
Well, one of the main things that I tell investors is that multifamily real estate has a cost segregation study. And that's why they should do it over single family investment, because you get better tax advantages with multifamily than you do with family investments.
There you go.
And that's helping people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, let's do that. Let's take this segue right into the final four over here, because I'd love to hear a little bit more about how, these things. I love these answers we get from everyone. So the first question I ask everyone is, what is the worst job that you ever had?
What's the worst job that I've ever had? Two come to mind, actually. And both of them were in the financial sector. So I was a trader at the Chicago Board of Trade, and I stood down in the pit in the 10-year bond pit. What originally happened was that my uncle had been a trader there for a long time, and this was 2001, and a lot of the liquidity was going to the screens, the computers, and out of the pit. And so he hired me on to hold a computer there and stand next to him as he traded in the pit. And that was a stressful job. And it was kind of sad to see a lot of honestly broken people there, a lot of drug use and people that were coping with stress in different, not always healthy ways.
Yeah.
Wow. The other job was actually Bank of America. So I worked at Bank of America as a software developer. I helped develop some foreign currency transaction systems. I was on a team there. And the corporate culture was bad enough. I spent the next 4 years volunteering overseas.
Wow.
Let's just put it that way.
Wow. Okay. that's a big leap, big dichotomy there. Sounds like jobs that, when I ask this question, part of me doesn't want to hear the answer because
there's some bad. Well, it's all about the people you work with, right? And the corporate culture.
It is.
And there are lots of Intel is a great place to work. I love working at Intel, which is why, even though I have a real estate company, I still want to work there. But yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's good to hear. And the fact that they're making it help, with your club, I mean, that's just incredible to me. It's just, to me, that's fascinating. I didn't even know these type of things existed beforehand, but I'm so glad to hear that and learn more about it today. What is, second question I asked, what is a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
So I actually read this December last year. This was Conscious Capitalism by John Mackey. And John Mackey is the CEO of Whole Foods. He's very well known for being a person whose business was driven by, things that he saw needed addressing. He wanted people to eat better and to have healthy, bodies. And so he built his entire business around that. But he developed his philosophy that everybody in a business transaction has to win, and that corporate citizens need to be driven by consciousness and not just the bottom line. And it's a really good read.
Awesome. I'm going to check that out. I haven't yet, but adding that to the list as I do pretty much every book that is suggested here on the podcast, which means I have a reading list for the next 6 years. But
Right.
it's always good. Awesome stuff. Third question, what is a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
So each year I try to do something that I've never done before. This year I bought a book on mushroom farming, not medicinal mushrooms.
Magical mushrooms?
Not magic mushrooms.
Okay.
No, culinary mushrooms. There are thousands and thousands of types, and they all
Mhm.
have different colors and textures and uses. And I literally knew nothing about mushrooms. I didn't even know what the names of the mushrooms in the supermarket are called. And I went, I know nothing about this. I'm gonna learn about this. And so I'm actually reading through a book with my daughter, and we're planning a small mushroom garden in our backyard. Part of this came about because I live in Oregon, and a couple of years we've tried to grow vegetable gardens, and they've not worked very well.
Right. You
And
need
so I
proper
decided,
sunlight.
it's wet and cold. Maybe I should grow mushrooms instead. But so we've got a small little beginning mushroom farm going, and that's something I do with my daughter quite a bit when I'm not doing other things. And it's good family time too.
That's great. That's awesome. So you cook? I take it you like to cook a little?
I cook a little, not as much as I should.
Okay. Because having all these mushrooms, I mean, you gotta try.
Yeah,
different
you got to
dishes
find
and-
interesting recipes to use
Right.
them in, and there's so many colors and textures that I don't think most people know about. So
Mhm. And a lot of them do actually have, very good medicinal purposes, even if you're not growing them specifically, the medicinal types. There is a lot of nutrients and different types of things in there. So, fourth and final question for you, Daniel: what does success mean to you?
success for me means being able to help families who have children with cancer, and also being involved in child sex trafficking and prevention. And the other thing is that a lot of people at the real estate club have given very generously with their words and just said, Daniel, thank you so much for starting the club. And so success for me has started to be helping other people reach financial freedom too. It's an important thing in people's lives, especially with uncertain times. I
Mhm.
love to talk to people about, hey, with real estate, I can look at the next potentially 4 to 5 years of cash flow and come up with a business plan. And if I want to retire, I need to have some forward looking ability where I can't do that with the stock market. Stock market goes up and down. It's based on consumer sentiment.
Mhm.
And commercial real estate is based on the amount of income the property produces. So it's a less liquid, more stable asset.
Right.
And so success for me has been, you want me to lay it out? In the next 7 years, I want to help 50 families become financially free.
There you go.
That's success.
That's awesome. That's an incredible goal. I love that. Love to hear it actually articulated and have a plan to get it done. And it's so true nowadays, especially with turbulent times, having other streams of income is really going to, really get it going, help you stay afloat. I mean, that's as simple as it
Mhm.
is.
Could I give one other thing that I want
Sure.
to plug a little bit?
Go right ahead.
So I and a couple of other people are starting a mastermind club for people that want to learn to start real estate clubs at their place of business. We actually have somebody from Dell, potentially somebody from Amazon, somebody from Nike, somebody from Kaiser Permanente, all coming in as founding members of the mastermind. And if you'd like to learn how to start a REI club at your company, come talk to us.
That's so awesome. I hope there are people listening to this that work at, large corporations like that have these type of clubs within them that, you can be the founding member, because tremendous things can come out of that. Not just the education, but the connections with new people, helping other people. And really ultimately, I'd be just guessing here, but have any of these people from your investing club actually invested with you on any of your projects?
It's a possibility.
It is a possibility. Okay, you're not going to say, but I would hope that would be the case. It's an ancillary benefit, obviously not the main reason why you're doing it. But thank you so much, Daniel. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, catching up, and I just appreciate you taking the time.
Yona, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, and to all our listeners, remember, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.